All right. Hello. Let's get started on the agenda. Number one is hard fork coordination update. Do we have any update on that?
Um, no major update, I guess, from yourself. It looks like majority of the clients are now merged, or at least Aleph, Geth, um, Pegasus. It is Trinity now?
Trinity is, I think, but I can double check later.
Yeah.
But I think they're handling it pretty well. And the good news about this is we are in the process of finding and bringing on a hard fork coordinator whose role will be like a paid position hard fork coordinator.
Awesome.
So that'll help us not have to do this as much anymore or just assist them. Um, so yeah, other than that, any other updates?
That's great news. And just a quick one with regards to Parity and Blake
Mm-hmm.
TV. What's happening there?
Pull up the EIP and I can tell you, or not the EIP, the tracker that Martin made. Let's see.
Because Y was reluctant to release.
They merged it, so they're fine.
Are they all good now? So
yeah, they're all good.
Oh, sweet as. Okay.
And let's see, next item. Updates on the action items for the Constantinople post-mortem. I felt like that was an in-progress item that was mostly done, or like someone had a draft at least.
Yeah. A couple of those items on the Constantinople post-mortem, we've been hoping that the community will help finalize. It is getting to a point where I was going to catch up with Charles. I know Peter and Charles and William have been working pretty hard on trying to complete this.
I mean, I haven't touched anything on that in a long time. Like, I remember right when I said I'd do a couple of things, I sort of submitted, and that was the end of it. I don't even remember exactly what I did at this point. So,
yeah, it was a while ago.
yeah, Charles isn't here, so I don't know if he could answer on this, but I'm starting to wonder if this is sort of like a zombie item, like if there's actually any progress going on with it.
Yeah, I think it's more of a zombie item. I think we should take it off, honestly.
Yep.
That's at least my proposal.
Someone should probably ask Charles first.
That's a good idea.
I'll probably catch up with Charles during the week and find out what's going on. Seeing if we can close off the majority of the items. Certainly, I don't think it needs to be brought up on the next agenda item until we actually have something to say, but it's all finished.
Mm-hmm. And like, if we can put what we have so far in one of our repos. So if we want to come back to it later, that'd be fine.
Yeah, before it is actually closed up, if you guys can have a look at the PR that I have submitted for some of the progress, I believe a couple of things I have tried to do it over there. So if you could check on the PR and we close the PR before this is off the list. Otherwise, in that case, it will be there forever.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll do it, Bridget.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the funding, accounting, and multisig. Any update on the Gitcoin discrepancy? I think Lane was looking at that, and maybe Brent
was, yes.
Brent, yeah,
I was looking at that, and I've been trying to reach out to Kevin Owoki, and I found his Twitter account, but I realized I don't have many ways to. Does anyone have his email or anything like that?
Yeah, I should. Remind me to give that to you after this call over Messenger. Or are you on Telegram with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, just over Telegram, remind me, and I'll connect you with him.
Okay.
I went back over some of the data with that also. There's something really wonky going on. That's like the only, like, that's probably the most professional thing I have to say about it. It's not clear to me that the issue is actually by Gitcoin, but that would be a very good place to start. Like, there's just some very strange, there's some real strangeness there.
Yep, spooky ghost and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll get you contact with Kevin, and you can also talk to William, since William's been looking into this a little bit, if you have notes or anything.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Update on ECH notes funding. Oh, those issues, I left some questions on those issues, and it looks like they're all answered, so I should be able to get to that today. So I can start making those multi-sigs, and then Lane or Charles can sign off on those, so we can get those out of the way. We're real behind on those, so sorry about that.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could get another person, possibly a cat herders that has a little more bandwidth that could help
Yeah.
with that, because it seems like that would, because those guys are so swamped and busy, it seems like we could help them. One of the cat herders could help them keep those funding things flowing through and stuff like that without having them to spend their time on administrative stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Let's talk about it in the chat afterwards, since we hardly have anyone here. Is my thinking. Does anyone else have a different proposal or want to discuss it more?
Yeah, that sounds real good.
Cool. Where did my notes go? I'll just re-click the link, I guess. I have lost my notes.
Moloch DAO's up next.
Moloch DAO. Okay, yeah. Well, anyone have an update on Moloch DAO?
Yeah, Tim gave the update just in the.
That's right, in the chat. Yep.
That it's currently positive. We've got 173 yes votes at the moment, so.
Oh, that's nice. And then I am in Moloch. However, I don't have my key yet because my ledger broke, the one that I was going to be using for Moloch. So, and we still have the EF has a rather interesting system to hold all those keys. So I'll just have to buy a new ledger, and that's it. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
So I didn't lose the key or anything, to be clear. That would be bad. So I'll get on voting for that if I can get my ledger here in time. All right, cool. And the Ethereum Cat Herders DAO, we were talking, that's the Aragon one that's about to potentially have an upgrade to support tokens and stuff, right?
It is, and is I guess the question of if we run the Ethereum Cat Herder funding through a DAO going forward, and I guess votes allocate the funds to certain activities, etc. Up until now, I guess we've been doing a lot of that discussion through Getter, it was really just, do we want to open it to a wider community, similar to, or do we want to have a separate Ethereum Cat Herder DAO, similar to a Moloch DAO? But our focus is specifically doing the back end stuff rather than doing the general Moloch DAO stuff. Or meta cartel stuff. Everyone's got their own little, I guess, agenda, and now they're talking about a marketing DAO.
Yep.
So, I mean, the Ethereum Cat Herd is more about, I guess, trying to assist with the administration in the back end at the moment. So,
yeah, good point. I don't know where we fit in best either.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a proposal. I've been talking to Peter from Metacartel, and he's obviously keen as mustard to DAOify the world.
Yeah.
I thought it might be good to at least talk this through, and if nothing else, in the beginning, start using the Aragon DAO a little bit more for voting and funding, and maybe in time. I never got to catch up with Charles. He had a couple of ideas, so I just wanted to talk with him. So as I'll probably speak to him this week, and then maybe bring some more ideas if anyone's interested, perhaps next week or in 2 weeks' time.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'll raise it in the Getter channel.
Okay, that sounds good. So let's see, ProgPow findings. So exciting news, we released our blog post. I posted that in our chat, and I have it across 3 Reddits, multiple Twitter retweets. The Ethereum Twitter account retweeted it, and I've been spamming it everywhere.
I think that's the first time we've been retweeted by Ethereum, right?
Yeah, it's a good time. Like to be fair, I actually have access to that account. So that's kind of the reason. That's the reason it happened. It was going to happen regardless because it is big news, and the Ethereum Foundation was a co-funder of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, as far as the findings, I don't really have a summary. I haven't dug into them. But I can say the community has varied opinions on ProgPow that are kind of rising up again. So I've been hearing a lot of people say, and I don't know if this is just a minority that's loud or if this is an actual like relatively large segment that we should be paying attention to, saying we shouldn't go through with ProgPow, the community is against it, there's a majority against it, and I don't know if we should try to do some kind of signal collection again, or not the same signals as last time, probably just because I don't think that would be as, what's it called? I don't think that would like work as well, but like maybe doing something we didn't do before, like getting public statements from people who in the community and like organizing those. I know Telegraph has a section that did that, but it's a little bit, you have to kind of dig through to read people's responses, whereas if we had them all in a document, that would be cool.
There was a document like that before. I remember because I participated in trying to collect some of the results for it. I remember there was like some big Google sheet of like prominent whateverness that was supposed to get updated by different people's opinions.
And it did, and it had a lot of people's opinions. The problem is we had to anonymize it in the end because we didn't get permission each time to, you know, like publicly say who said what.
I hadn't understood you. Okay.
So something like that would be cool. ProgPow isn't going to be decided on until, likely not be decided on until after Istanbul or like sometime in the next month and a half. So we have a little bit of time to figure out if we need to do anything else or just start giving our opinions if we want on it. I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I don't really know what's best for the community that would involve our participation.
If it's clear that there's not going to be any decision reached about ProgPow for the next month and a half, it could be that itself should be communicated. That way, at least people know that there's no like giant Damoclean sword or something.
I did put that in the blog post, but it's only 1 line, so it might be skipped over. But most people, I think, realize it's not going into Istanbul, hopefully.
Yeah, I think most people should be aware of that. And that, if anything, it was going to be formed part of Berlin.
Yeah, it would either be Berlin or its own hard fork, because we are moving to an EIP-centric model where when an EIP is done, we just go ahead with a hard fork as long as it passes through the different stages.
Yep.
So let's ideate on this a little bit more. If anyone has any ideas, throw them up in chat or next meeting, or even this meeting if you have any just off the top of your head. But I think it's good we release this. This actually ends our official edict from the core devs on what to do. So we technically don't have anything else more to do on ProgPow, except make sure that the rest of the people who were funding ProgPow send the money to least authority, which I'm doing myself. So that's perfectly taken care of. Let's see. Any other comments on that?
Yeah, of course I'm biased, so if I get too promoting of Canonizer, let me know and I'll shut up. But Canonizer is exactly designed to solve that problem, to find out concisely and quantitatively what everyone thinks about ProgPow. We've got the Ethereum consensus project already started, and we've got a ProgPow topic in it, but the problem is no one knows about it. And the problem is every place else doesn't scale. If 1,000 people provide 1,000 comments, no one can know what that is. But at Canonizer, you just come, and if what you want to say is already there in a camp, you just join the camp, and no one. And when you join a camp, you gain editorial. But anyway, I'm putting a link in the text to the Ethereum consensus project, and in there's a link to the ProgPow. There are only a few, and it's basically a wiki with camps. And once you join a camp, you gain editorial control over that camp. So basically, the idea is you throw it out there, and the people for ProgPow can see how much consensus they can build in their camp, and the people against ProgPow can see how much consensus they can build in their camp. And the focus is all about falsifiability. You say, what would falsify your camp? Because if it's not falsifiable, it's kind of meaningless. And then once you know some experiments or something you can do to try and falsify one of the other camps, then you throw it out to the experimentalists. They do the experiment, and it forces everyone into the same camp. But anyway, it's a very powerful consensus building system, the way it's set up. But anyway, I'll shut up on that now.
It looks really cool. I think this is really powerful. The one thing that I would say, though, is because you can go in as a guest, I guess there's moderators, you said, though, right?
No, it's all completely anarchic. There's no filtering. If you join a camp, you can have editor. Well, in Wikipedia, when you submit a modification, it goes live instantly. But with Canonizer, when you submit a modification to a camp, whether the name or the content or anything, all of the direct supporters get notified that this proposal has been made, and then that change is in review for 1 week. And if none of the supporters of the camp at the time it was submitted object, then it will go live automatically in 1 week. That way you can assume unanimous consensus of all of the supporters of the camp that they all agree with that improvement. And then if someone does object, then there's forums and stuff where you can start negotiating and reword it and get it so everyone's like, and the hierarchical structure. But anyway, the bottom line is no, if you support a camp, you control that camp, and no one can. So everyone gets a voice, and there's no, and also most systems have, like what you say, moderators and filter stuff on the way in. We filter that upside down. We let everything in, but the Canonizer algorithm on the sidebar lets people filter things any way they want. Like you could, we're building an Ethereum Canonizer or algorithm so people can vote their Ether. And we're looking at the Telegraph code to implement that here, so you'll be able to set, and we'll be able to make white lists for core developers. So you'll be able to choose a core developer Canonizer algorithm to see what they want. Then you'll be able to select, and basically that filters it any way you want to filter it. So it gives the users the ability to do any kind of editing they want. And we'll also have what's that? The voting technique, the quadratic voting. So people we'll have an algorithm where 1 ether gets 1 vote, and we'll also have a quadratic ether where your vote gets the square root of your votes. So that gives individuals much more vote than people who have lots of ether and stuff like that. So, but anyway, the goal is to let anyone propose any kind of canonizer algorithm they want, and then we'll implement anything we want, and then anyone can canonize things any way they want. But anyway, yeah.
That's cool. The other thing is, I think this tool, in my opinion, is good for collecting solid, like well thought out written statements. the people who are pro ProgPow on the core dev side, at least, that seem to have the longest written statements of support with like technical details, have already kind of dropped off from the conversation because they feel like they've written their blog post or their Twitter thread or or Reddit post, and from there they don't want to mess with it again. So getting active participation, especially from the pro ProgPow side, would be a challenge. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do this, because even if it's like entirely one-sided, we get to see what what that one-sided argument's reasonings are.
Yeah, if one side is too noisy and has 5 or 6 people that can really drum up a lot of consensus, and if other people say that, and they say, well, I want my voice to be heard, anyone who wants their voice to be heard can join a camp or whatever they want. So
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, that sounds good. Who else has comments on this tool?
I didn't catch everything, but it's Sybil proof.
well, not yet. There are a lot of solutions in the pipeline that are coming down, and so it's not Sybil proof, but it is, of course, if you can vote your ether, that's Sybil proof, and you can vote quadratic ether, that's Sybil proof. And if we have a whitelist of who the core developers are and you use that canonizer algorithm, that filters out Sybil proof. So and the big thing isn't so much the default vote is the popular vote, which of course is not Sybil proof. But the important thing is like all of the content of the camps and the structure of the camps, because that results in a hierarchical list of what everyone believes. And the way canonizer works is typically when communities polarize, it's 99% of the time on a minor issue, and all the important things is they usually agree on. And so at canonizer, you push all the agreement stuff that everyone agrees on up in a super camp, and then you push the disagreeable stuff down into supporting subcamps, because subcamps support parent camps, sibling camps are competing camps. But usually what everyone agrees on, that's usually a casualty of the polarizing war, can still build consensus around that. But and so it's that kind of structure forming and everything. Of course, Sybil can't contribute. That's Sybil proof in and of itself, even though the popular consensus voting algorithm isn't yet Sybil proof. But in a year or so, it will be able to easily make it Sybil proof, because there's lots of identity solutions coming through. So it's not completely there yet, but it will be in the near future.
So if we use it for this, we'd use it as a coin voter?
Anyone could, we could come up with any way we want to determine. In other words, people want to get a signal from the community. You can try to see what we're going to work on, finding a way to get the a canonizer. So like I said, anyone can look at what the coin vote signal is. The quadratic coin vote signal we're working on a white list of core developers. We want to find out some algorithmic way to find out miners, so miners can have a canonizer algorithm to get signal from them. So it's all still work in progress, and we got a lot of work to do. But anyway, that's the direction we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
Hudson, just for clarification, the audits themselves never found anything per se wrong with ProgPow. They made recommendations for perhaps improvements around it, but in terms of the code itself at the moment, there's no major faults.
That was my understanding, besides one possible type of attack, but like I don't know how serious that was, or if it's something like a theoretical thing. And the fact that they have a Kekak hash function that is abnormal, it's custom within their code, and so they recommended that someone who really knows about that stuff go in and like look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of our polling or helping with decision making, the original thoughts were that it should be implemented so long as there was no major issues with it. Are we looking at something else other than that, or?
That was so according to the core developers and the decisions that they've made, that is the current plan. However, if anyone in the core devs objects, or if there's enough community sentiment that the core devs pay attention, then that can change.
So really, it is trying to promote people reading the findings, and those people smart enough to dig a little deeper should dig a little deeper, or else it'll default to the consensus. Everyone seems okay with it.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that happens, but with some controversial things, it's so hard to gauge sentiment and to have people with strong convictions about a controversial thing that it usually defaults to yes.
Yeah, because you do feel that because it's taken so long, it's almost death by 1,000 cuts. This prog power audit and result, what that we've been talking about it for over a year now. So
yeah,
I can see it's going to take a lot of keenness from those pros and those against it to at least jump back in the ring and fight their cause again, if they're not absolutely passionate about it.
Yeah, I agree. Any other comments on the ProgPow findings? And as far as I'm blanking on the website we just talked about. I was just on the page. What was it called?
Canonizer.
Canonizer. If anyone wants to spearhead that, let's talk about it in chat, and we can start advertising that as an option for people to participate in and start to see how many people are interested and how much we want to push that.
Yeah, why not? Sounds good. Brent, do you want to run with that?
I'm sorry, I got spaced out. Can you?
No problem. Do you want to lead the Canonizer push? And what we can do is we can kind of dip our toe in the water by setting it up and then inviting some people to put their opinion.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jim's on too. Both of us can do anything. Yeah, and I just feel odd because sometimes when we jump into forums and stuff like that, people don't really understand what it is, and it sounds like I'm just on the soapbox talking about my own pet projects that's worthless. But so I have to be careful of that. But anyway.
Oh yeah, it's a good project, so why not?
Thank you. Yeah, well, so basically, yeah. So yeah, we'll do whatever we can for that.
Talk to us in chat about that, and yeah, we'll go from there. And as long as you're in the chat, right, Brent?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Do we have any other business?
No. Only other thing was obviously if magicians are need to reach out to us, and we're going to look to see if we can run a circle. Brent, I think, is involved in trying to coordinate that as well in Osaka. So that'll give us a bit of a platform. The EEA, Hudson, if you're not aware, has also reached out through Tim. And we're going to try and be on a panel with them.
I think Lane is going to be one of the people on that panel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm on there too, but I'm representing the Ethereum Foundation on that panel. So there's a meeting about that on Wednesday where I'll have more information.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Yep, that sounds good. And something that I didn't put on the agenda. I am writing a piece on what the Istanbul EIPs are, like a little overview about like how, like when the testnet fork is and what the next steps are, and a little bit about the implications of the EIP. Oh, forgetting the number, but it's the one where Wei from the parody team was having some hangups about it, as were some other people. And so there's been some Twitter and Reddit conversations about that, where people are confused about what contracts are breaking due to an EIP change in Istanbul.
1884, is it?
Yep, 1884. I think. That sounds right.
The repricing is slowed.
Yes. And for those who aren't familiar with that, basically, there's a CoinDesk article, or no, there's a Decrypt article that I linked to in my Twitter that goes over it very well. But what's it called? So what we're doing is we're increasing the price of an opcode, and what that means is whenever someone is in their smart contract and they just assume that the gas price of a certain function, like let's say add or something like that, is always going to be X amount of gas, but then we change it to Y amount of gas, then that screws up their contract because they can no longer access that part of the contract. And especially with the default, I'm so tired, I forgot what the default fallback function in Solidity contracts, how that works. If you assume a specific gas price for an opcode, then it has the chance of breaking if that opcode price changes. So it breaks certain contracts like Kyber and Aragon, but they do have upgrade mechanisms. We're just not sure about other contracts. And so the core devs kind of said we would fix things if there were major breaks that we found after the hard fork, because we don't have enough time for a good workaround and analysis of the workaround. But that opens up a can of worms for the community of like, well, what makes this interference different than EIP 999 or the DAO or other stuff? So one of the arguments I made during the call were that the cat herders could put on a PR effort to explain how this is very different than EIP 999. So the community and the press and everyone are well aware of the issue and correctly interpret the consequences of it.
Absolutely.
So I'm writing that up, and I will send the draft probably while I'm writing it to the cat herders page so that we can coordinate on that together. And I'll definitely like people to look over it, especially from a readability standpoint. The cat herders who are less technical, if they can read it and like figure it out, or like understand it even without the technical background of a lot of the Ethereum stuff, then that's powerful.
Sounds good. We'll do that.
Cool. Any comment on that or other business?
I mean, Tel Aviv Blockchain Week is next week, or actually, I was just looking at the events. A lot of it is this week. I'm in Israel, so if there's any need for a cat herder by any of that, I can't think of exactly what there would be, but I mean, I'm here.
Cool. I don't know if there's any need. If you run into the Starkware people, say hi, because they've been working a lot on some of the EIPs and stuff and been hanging out in the core dev chats and calls.
They actually have a specific event. It's one of the things I'm thinking of going to.
Cool. Yeah, I've had good interactions with them. I think you're the only cat herder there, we figured out, because Lane skipped it.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one here.
Cool.
Because he's getting old.
Just a comment, William, if you could, another thing that gives credibility to Canonizer Topics is the more people that join or basically vote for camp. And right now, myself and a guy named Nick Sawanye, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, are the only two people that have joined any of the ProgPal camps. And I'm totally clueless the pros and con arguments. So if you meet anyone that has any opinion one way or the other, or if you can just tell people, well, give people a link to the Ethereum Consensus Project and say, hey, go weigh in on these topics. That would, and if we can get some people developing and get some good content there, then if we cross the critical mass, then people will want to say, oh, we get the signal from this page here. then that's going to bring a lot more people in and stuff like that. So it's kind of a chicken and egg problem. But anyway, also, if anyone knows anyone on either side of the issue that's really trying to, if you could send me their contact information, I'll reach out to them and help walk them through getting started on supporting one side or the other. So
Cool. Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep my eyes and ears open also.
thanks.
Any other business? All right, I think that is it. It says review action items, but I don't know if there are any to review.
Yeah, there wasn't any significant ones. We took the notes, but it hasn't been put up yet. But
Cool. Oh, by the way, we pay people to do the Ethereum cat herder meeting notes, right?
my understanding is it's not Ether Cat Herders that funds that, but there is supposed to be 100 DAI for each nodes, but nothing's been given out yet.
So the cat herders is 50 DAI, funded from the Ethereum Cat Herder Fund. Ethereum 2 is from Gitcoin grant, and it comes out periodically. Unfortunately, it hasn't been as regular as it should be. And Ethereum 1 comes from the Ethereum Cat Herder funding.
Got it. For the Ethereum cat herders calls, are they transcribed word for word? I guess I haven't seen the repo where they are.
They're I guess more translated in terms of the context of the discussion.
Got it. Because I'd make the argument that 50 DAI is a lot for that, since these meetings are generally shorter and a lot less dense than the core dev meetings, if we're paying the same amount for core dev meetings.
Core dev meetings would pay 100 DAI.
Oh, I thought we pay 50 for both.
No. So 50 for the Ethereum Cat Herder, 100 DAI for Eth2 and for Eth1.
Okay, y'all need to check oh man, I need to go back in then, because I think I sent 50 for core dev notes to a few people, not understanding that. So I'll need to go back in. Check, especially Pooja and Brett, check your stuff to make sure I didn't underpay.
Okay.
And whoever else has done notes, I know there was someone else. I'm just not thinking of the name.
Yep. Cool.
Cool. All right. Anything else, anybody?
Just one thing, I just want to give you guys an idea about the thing, Hudson, that we talked the other day about the marketing DAO thing. So
Yeah.
So now we are working on the promotion of Ethereum, and we are in process of making DAO for that, so that we can get some community fund and promote Ethereum. There are a group of people all right from the Ethereum community. Major names are there: Eric Konar, Amin Suleiman, and like many people. Amanda Cassette from Consensus. So we are working on writing up something about this, like this initiative about marketing DAO. I have proposed Amanda to help out with the initial write-up. And yes, we are looking into other ways how we can make Ethereum popular. Maybe the way we have a Bitcoin, section there that people go there, know more about Bitcoin. If we can have something like that in every events and meets, that would be great. And we are also coming up with more ideas. So I would like to invite all the cat herders, if we can think of something, and we can just pass it on to this group. That would be helpful for Ethereum promotion.
Excellent. Thanks for the update. And yeah, anyone who wants to get more involved in that or learn more, talk to Pooja.
Sure.
Also, we could use some help from the cat herders if you could join up on the ProgPow and start getting a few. And also in Canonizer, you can either use anonymous nicknames, you can create multiple nicknames, and you can use a nickname to contribute. You can either do that anonymously or publicly. So if you create a public link, because if everyone saw Hudson was supporting one camp or other, everyone would say, oh, I'll delegate my support to Hudson. And there's also infinite delegation, so there's that too. But anyway, it would help to get a few more than just a couple of supporters of those camps to get things started.
Hudson, are you biasing the vote again?
Am I what the vote again?
Biasing the vote?
Gosh, I hope not. There was that. Yeah, some people think I am, so gonna fight that one off. That's funny.
Anyway,
Oh,
otherwise,
man.
yeah, big kudos to the Interop camp and getting some of the clients talking to each other.
Yeah, are any of the Interop people in here?
No, Joseph is not. And that's about it.
Yep, that was cool news though. Yep, totally. All right, I think that is it. Thanks everybody. And we will see you in, I guess, 2 weeks.
Cool. Speak to you later, guys.
Bye.
Hey, see y'all.
And I'll get the notes up too. So.
Great.